Yeah,
it's not fair.
Yeah.
Why is it in the losing bracket, Gerard?
Yeah.
Two games that could have taken home the grand prize on any other day, but must now fight for the loser's crown. Today, Jim Caddick, Barry Kramer, Gerard Khalil, and Shane Gill join me, Forrest Lee, as we decide which of these games deserves to win the loser's bracket. It's Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Crash Bandicoot 2, and this is Madness.
Welcome back to PlayStation 1 Madness. We're in the finale of the loser's bracket. Somehow it's Castlevania versus Crash 2.
The loser's bracket.
The loser's bracket. Anyone have any points they want to start out on this?
Castlevania's the better game.
Okay.
It just is. Again, I can't repeat myself. I don't think Crash 2 is the best one, and Symphony of the Night is just, I think you were saying, it's just everything it goes for, it nails pretty much, so...
Don't drag me into this.
I'm dragging you into this. And if...
dragged, son.
Yeah.
Dracula.
That's a good song.
What?
I have a question for you guys.
Go for it.
Just because I'm always curious, because I'm always trying to gauge people's interest all the time.
Got curious eyebrows.
What does game length or content length matter to you?
Yes.
No.
It depends.
It's entirely dependent.
Every
what do you
possible
mean
answer you
by-
could get.
I'm talking like if you buy a $60 game and it's very short, you buy a $60 game and it's very big.
How long
think-
it is?
I think you can...
is a completely neutral thing to me. I'd rather it depends entirely on how the game uses that time.
exactly.
I could have an amazing, life-changing 1 hour game and a 60-hour game that's boring, and I just wish I didn't play it.
Yeah, if you said to me, do you want to play Vanishing of Ethan Carter or Assassin's Creed Origins? I'm going to pick Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
I was about to bring up Gone Home. I know it's not a
I love
$60
Gone
game, but it was a great 2-hour experience that I probably would greatly prefer to most.
A lot of my favorite games are shorter games.
And Dear Esther is terrible.
It's not that I actively avoid longer games. I usually try to play at least a couple 50-plus hour games a year if I have the time.
Sure.
But yeah, typically if I'm looking between two games and one's shorter, the fastest way to get me to play games to go, hey, you can beat it in 4 hours. I'll be like, I'm gonna check it out.
Well, yeah,
sure.
But then for us, I mean, we want to make streams and videos about it, and the longer a game is, I mean, for you, for completing the things, it's like the longer the worse for you, because it's like
it is a different question between like personal.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's in completely like for me, short is good. But again, it's what Shane was saying. It's all about what the game does with its time.
Just to get that perspective in there, I think we should also remember that a lot of people don't buy that many games a year. So
exactly. Getting a long game.
Is that the point you were going to get
my
at?
point is that I grew up poor, and it wasn't until I was 15 or 16 when my family became a lot more wealthy and I was able to afford games, and I had to work jobs to make money for games. And so for me, one of the main reasons why I became a completionist was because my parents, my mom specifically, always told me, you don't get a new game until you've completed it. Like, you have to make sure that you have exhausted every aspect of it so that you understand the value of the money that's being spent.
Thank you, Gerard's mum.
Yeah. And so a big judgment scale for me when I talk about games, almost the secret hidden meaning behind the crux of my channel, is I like it when games have a lot of content in it, because games are expensive. They're getting more expensive as the years go on. And while more games are more available on the cheap, game length and content density is huge, I feel. And my point, going back to why we're talking about these two games, Symphony of the Night is a massive game.
It is. It's way bigger than Crash.
And it's way bigger than Crash. And I think it's just a great jumping start point for this conversation. And it's a game that snowballs more and more as you play it in terms of the level of enjoyment. You fight more interesting bosses. You find more characters. You get better weapons. You level up. You go to places that you couldn't go to before. You solve like micro puzzles to get through some doors. How do I get up that ledge? So on and so forth. And I think the overall length of experience doesn't feel like it's too long.
It doesn't feel padded.
And even when the castle flips, it's like, oh man, like I'm excited to retread old ground, because you're on the ceiling now. You're not exactly going the same doors that you were.
This is the thing. You can be playing an open world game and you could be playing for 11 hours and you look at your game time and you think, I've been doing the same mundane shit for 11 hours and it feels like I'm doing it for 40. But then you could play like a game like Symphony of the Night. You could be playing it for a good 20, 30 hours and it feels like you've been playing for about 5.
I think the difference there is, and I'm going to use Oblivion as an example. I still think that's a fun, good game, but with Oblivion, they just kind of took the assets and made a bunch of dungeons out of them, so it feels like you're going through the same stuff. With the castle, they very carefully designed it, and when they flip it, that feels earned. It's not like...
They're not padding it out for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
I
think, definitely agree. Where when I was young, we'd have a couple games a year, and as a kid, I definitely valued replayability and the amount of content in a game. But as I've gotten older, and as I spend the vast majority of my disposable income on games. I buy a lot of games a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in that context, I value a game that will give me a tight, confined experience as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. And the worst sin a game can commit is padding.
Yes,
or extending its length beyond reason. Grinding. Yeah. It's a big reason why I don't play JRPGs. Yeah. Even if grinding's not an essential part of the experience, you kind of end up grinding because you're like, I'm not close to a level, I might as well get there before this next boss or whatever it is. So I tend to play a lot of single player games, I tend to play a lot of shorter games.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a less relevant point that of the $60 price point, how expensive games are, because more often than not, it's a race to the bottom in pricing. A game comes out at $60 and then 2 months later it's $35. That's an extreme, but I think if you're willing to wait, you can get incredible thousands of hours of quality entertainment for a couple bucks if you're willing to wait a year or two.
Do you know what this is kind of like? It's kind of like comparing nowadays, I suppose, The Witcher 3 to Uncharted 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what, I'd say
Uncharted 4 is a good 10-hour journey if you're playing it completely casually, you're not rushing through it. Witcher 3 goes on for hours and hours and hours, but the thing with The Witcher 3...
For your first playthrough.
For your first playthrough, yeah. But the thing with The Witcher 3 is that there are so many, it earns the world scale. Yeah. It's with stuff even Fallout 4, I enjoyed Fallout 4, I thought it was a fun time, but it's not... There's all the side quests, it's just busy work most of the time, right? But with The Witcher, you have entire other stories.
Everything has purpose.
It's like mini games within the game, and they go on. They have their own arcs. It's all interesting. There's always something cool to see. So that's what you look for.
You're saying that The Witcher 3 is Crash Bandicoot 2, and no.
You're very close. Try the other one.
I grew up poor as well, and I think even the N64 was the first console I even had within a year of it coming out. I was raised on NES and Sega Master System, and even then I don't think the price point of a game has really any relevance here.
It's how good the game is.
I apologize. I made the statement not so much concerned about the price point, so much as I was trying to show a game that had a lot of content versus a game that didn't have a lot of content.
I understand that. I'm saying that I think that argument, or not that argument, that point is just more relevant to when we were kids.
Sure.
Because even kids today, even if they don't have a lot of money, $1 will get you further than it did back in our day.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
you can play Fortnite for free, and that's what every kid is doing right now.
I guess it just adds another Jenga piece to our entire construction of this. Is the essence of a PlayStation game.
The essence is burning plastic when you play a game that's for too long. That's what
are we judging these games playing them in 2018, or are we judging these games back when we were kids?
All of the above.
It's everything together.
Yeah, I mean, because by proxy, we've played dozens of games that were much better than all the games in these brackets, but the true inspiration of where they came from, where these games we're talking about. Yeah. So it's kind of... I don't know. The more we deep dive into these conversations, the more confused I'm getting, because
these are some pretty brutal losing brackets, though. I mean, I'm pretty confused myself.
The brackets don't make much sense either. It truly is madness.
It is madness.
Madness.
You shall regret those words. We will meet again.
I'm just gonna say that Symphony of the Night, it's aged better. It was great then. It's still great now. Again, it's one of those things. It's flawed. It doesn't need too much.
Is Crash 2 not great now?
It is, but I think it got better. I thought Crash got better with Symphony of the Night. I think it got so much.
Castlevania had several games before it to learn, try, and grow.
Exactly.
Whereas with Crash Bandicoot, it only had one game.
Do you think that Crash, it just went up and up, and
yes, I do. Yeah.
And since Symphony of the Night, Castlevania has been trying to chase Symphony of the Night?
I think that's partly what they were doing with the design philosophy.
I honestly think that Castlevania has tried to stray away from Symphony of the Night since its establishment.
Well,
It feels like
there's
they
the
have
DS. The DS games all tried to.
Sorry, I forget his name. Is it Ikuragi?
Yeah.
Since he left, I think the DS games were like the last.
Yeah,
one
but they were all Symphony of the Night styled. Yeah.
So he might have been trying to chase that, but since he's left, they have like completely.
Now they.
But
now they
like
do,
my point
now
is,
they do gambling machines.
Yeah,
I mean, it was for quite some time. They were doing the God of War kind of third person
Was
over
it
the
Lords of
shoulder,
Shadow
Lords of
or-
Shadows, Lord of Shadows 2.
Yeah.
Which
fine.
produced by Hideo Kojima, so they at least they tried to spice it up a little bit, right?
Or they drove a truckload of money into his backyard
That's true.
and asked to use his name.
That's true. But I
Actually, knowing Konami, they probably just unlocked his door for 5 minutes as a reward.
Let him take a few deep breaths.
you can go to toilet outside today.
You get to go to the window today and look outside.
this is a sandwich. This is for you.
I think that the
We're
main
using
point,
your likeness.
I think the main point is that even looking at the games today and looking at them back then, I think Symphony of the Night has held up tremendously well, and Crash has as well. But I just think that Crash 2 isn't the best one.
You know, this is going to sound really evil for me to say. Symphony of the Night does not need a remaster.
No, it doesn't.
I was thinking that.
I was
2D is
just about
timeless.
to.
It's
2D is
It's
timeless.
timeless.
And it's
perfect the way
like
that
the
it is.
epitome of pixel art of the day.
I was
It's
just about
so
to go
solid.
into the fact that we had just moved into the 64-bit era. Not everything. Things were able to be in 3D now, and I think they made the intelligent decision with Symphony of the Night to not make that 3D. And like you were saying,
They
it
just
doesn't
use
need
3D elements.
But they did that on the Nintendo 64,
I think
and
they
it
were
was a
struggling.
disaster.
The
Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't really a decision. I think that game started out before the PlayStation.
Yeah, it
was
looks.
Sega
changed it
It was
to be a
32X,
PlayStation.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
okay,
my point is still valid.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, well, let's look at it really simply then. Let's look at it really simply. Even if you thought Crash 2 was the best, I think you like Crash 2 the best out of the original trilogy,
I
right?
do, yes.
Okay, so even if you thought that Crash 2 was the best out of the original trilogy and Symphony of the Night was the best Castlevania and nothing's ever topped it, if you were that kind of person, you could look at both games in their respective formats, in their respective genres, and you could say they both look great, they both sound great, they both play great. Because of that, though, Castlevania is longer than Crash 2 is, but they're
Which is
both.
why I was trying to
Yeah.
talk about content.
Yeah, but the thing is
because-
that as a quality of a video game, they're both probably quite nearly neck and neck. But because Castlevania is longer, but still keeps the quality, it just automatically means you get more of an amazing game.
Or it's just, do you have a preference between like a 3D?
Yeah, I don't know. This is really
It's-
bloody
yeah.
difficult.
It's early 3D as well, fairly early, and it doesn't hold up as well as it should. I
It
guess
doesn't,
That's
but
why
it
they
still looks
remastered it.
pretty
Yeah,
good.
it does. It doesn't. But yeah, it's looking at them
Not
like.
to mention Symphony of the Night. You can. There's no new game plus, but you can start over and play as a new character.
Yeah, you
there,
can-
there are different ways
Yeah,
to
it's-
experience
yeah.
the same game you just did, and it
Yeah.
changes things pretty dramatically.
It's as
so-
mechanically smooth. It controls as good, but it's just there's more to it and it's
And
longer.
I
so.
can only imagine a speed run of Symphony of the Night is drastically different from the main
It's
normal
also-
playthrough.
It's also really fascinating to watch.
Whereas a speed run of Crash, maybe they just spams a lot of dashes. Like there's only so
Oh,
much.
I think
you can probably do
they
to-
glitch through
Or
like
they just
the
glitch through the whole
warp rooms.
game.
Yeah, I think they just.
But
like,
I just think like the way you can play that game is very different with Symphony of the
in
Night.
Yeah,
Crash speedruns, they don't even play the game.
Yeah, so even if you were to say that Crash 2
Crash
was,
the game.
even if you were to say that like Crash 2 was the best platformer ever, or Symphony of the Night was the best action side-scrolling RPG ever, that's the point you got to look at. It's like Castlevania is still like if you're going to compare the two, like you said, it's you get more for your money, and it's just as good mechanically and everything else that Crash 2 does. So it's kind of logical in that.
And it's got a better
sense.
soundtrack.
Yeah, no,
Crash's soundtrack
no,
is
I,
good.
I love
It's
Crash
good.
2's. I love Crash 2's soundtrack, but you can't really compare.
Castlevania's
to-
not fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it's not fair.
Yeah.
Why is it in the losing bracket, Gerard?
Yeah.
It's in the losers bracket because Resident Evil 2's hype as
Yeah.
I think it's in the losers bracket because everyone hyped up Resident Evil 2 without looking at it, and before I even get to say anything, the round was over. We talked about RE2 so much that I didn't even get to talk about how great Symphony of the Night was, and it was like, that was it.
Resident Evil 2 is so good they didn't bother to remake it for like 25 years.
What? We're not talking about
only
that. Hold on. Not only
talking about that game.
They're literally changing
Gerard.
everything about the game.
Gerard, we're not talking about that game.
Madness! God damn it!
Stop.
Castlevania should have won this entire bracket, but it didn't. at least going to win the winners bracket for the losers bracket. I don't give a fuck.
I don't.
My vote's in even before we even vote.
Yeah, same here.
And I love me some Crash Bandicoot
we got like 2 more minutes. Give it
Final thoughts.
Yeah,
of,
final thoughts. Crash.
Crash.
Okay.
Crash Bandicoot 2 is my favorite Crash game. It's one of my favorite platformers of all time. One of my favorite PS1 games of all time. Comparing it to Castlevania is the better game.
Castlevania has better graphics, better gameplay, better music, better atmosphere. It's kind of just completely unfair to Crash, to be honest.
Which is sad because Crash 2 is
but then this is what I was trying to say earlier. Crash 2 of its genre is great. That's the thing. But if you look at them both next to each other, it's just
especially because it was better than the first game.
Well, yeah, exactly.
People bought the first game, they played the second, they were like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
They were like, "Whoa!" Whoa!
I mean, with Symphony of the Night, it's tough for me because again, I've only played the first chunk of the game, so it's like I'm going off of an experience of having no abilities, having the experience of picking up swords that are worse than the sword I have, and just kind of being like, I guess it's fine. I forgot to use my shield, so I died a bunch. It's. I wish I had played more of it because then I could be like, it's so good, but I can only go off of what I've played. I'm just like. It must get good for it to have this, long storied tradition of people fanboying over it. So, it's something that I do want to go and play at some point. Whereas Crash 2, it's like, I played a couple minutes, I was like, I get this game. I get it. I've played games like this, and I can see what the other levels are.
I think the difference is, not to be insulting, but I think Crash was aimed at kids as well, and Symphony of the Night wasn't.
Sure.
So it's way easier.
I think it's also Crash is more of like a little bite-sized experience where you can pick it up, play it a little bit, and you're good. Whereas Symphony of the Night is you sit there and you play it all day.
Yeah.
And that's what your day is.
Which Naughty Dog have, going back to The Witcher 3 versus Uncharted, Naughty Dog have always been very good at that, making concise and focused, fun, short-ish experiences.
And that's normally the game that I would gravitate towards.
Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But with Symphony of the Night, it's just like I feel like it just seems like it has a lot going for it. I just haven't seen it firsthand.
Yeah, no, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do have to give it time, unfortunately.
And what people say about Symphony of the Night seems to be the pinnacle of its genre.
Of the Castlevania side of Metroidvania.
And Crash 2 is not the pinnacle of platformers, so. Well, in my opinion,
definitely
anyway.
was a part of the early revolution of the 3D platformer. But
absolutely, yeah.
Started it, but I think
I'd rather play.
But it's also tough for every 3D platformer that came out after Mario 64 because it's like they did it, they made it work.
I guess I don't consider Crash Bandicoot the same type of platformer that you would in Mario 64.
Yeah, no, it's explorative. Yeah,
but you can imagine a world where Mario 64 came out and it played like Crash, where you're running down in a hallway and it's basically a 2D game with an extra axis. Yeah, it's like it wouldn't have been the shift.
I think they called that Mario 3D Land.
So if you had to vote between the two games we are talking about,
Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yeah,
there you go.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
So the
choice is clear.
The game that should have been in the winners bracket.
Yeah, true.
Just won the losers bracket.
Nah,
think about that.
Can't believe Parappa's in the losers bracket.
No, I can't believe it either.
Think about that.
Can't believe Parappa's in the bracket. Yeah.
Who do you think should have won the losers bracket finale? Let us know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe for more episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. It really does help. And also, in case you missed it, check out the latest Did You Know movies on Deadpool.